Or sit in. Oh, we're live. Oh,
sit aside. Yeah, don't say those things.
Sorry. Now you're
There's no seating.
Now you're gonna have to give it parental advisory on YouTube.
Actually, I think I had to tick a box saying that we would not curse, and
Really? Oh.
I think I might have.
But it's a curse word then. Sorry.
You know, it's a developer meeting, right? And the quality of developer meetings are measured by the amount of WTFs a minute, a second, or whatever. Yep. The rate, right? So
if you're not cursing, you're not working hard enough.
Exactly. So I guess having dev in the title says it all.
Do we want to talk about the class loader stuff and what Anthony brought up?
Yeah, I think we want to talk about that. Obviously, I didn't send any email or anything to the mailing list with anything, and stuff comes up as they do. But so let's discuss that. All right, so I'm trying to find the. As usual, I came utterly prepared.
There's a pull request somewhere for it, isn't there?
Pull request 109. It is, I think. I don't like saying that because, already, I think Louis was and said that he had nothing to say, and it looks all perfect.
Does the discussion in the chat room, does that become annotations on a YouTube video or not?
I don't know. When I watch the recording to put the notes in, I actually don't watch the recording. It's it's a window in the background. I just listen to it, so I don't know.
I see that now.
There is this showcase app that you can enable where maybe then stuff sticks into the ground.
I was just wondering, it'd be really nice if there was a YouTube annotation for the. Sorry, that was a big hand.
Right. What? 109.
109.
Get up.
Okay.
So again, another thing that's very cool is the introduction. Should do that more. It may help.
Introduction.
All right. So let me read this quickly. When you look at his pull request, nice, wrote a nice introduction of what this change set is all about.
Is it accurate?
Hopefully not. All right. So this one always threw me off. So I guess it's the second point that we want to discuss first, right? It says allow discrete class loaders for a cache manager and for individual caches. Yeah. Someone?
So the argument is, I guess that I can lay out the argument for what's going on here. So Anthony Han, who's not here, so I guess we can just dismiss this concept out of hand. No, anyway. Anthony Han inquired, at least, as to why caches, or whether caches need to have discrete class loaders, whether we need to have the ability to say every cache in a cache manager has a distinct class loader. And I think it's a perfectly valid question. And from my point of view, I suspect that more than 50%, I suspect significantly more than 50% of users will. Well, first of all, I suspect probably more than 50% of users will never actually specify a specific class loader and will just take the default and it'll work, especially if we've tuned good defaults. I suspect that of the less than 50% that specify class loaders, I would have said a good chunk of those, more than 50% of those, are going to want the same class loader for every cache. And so that leaves you with a small fraction of users, probably on the order of 10, 20% at most, that will want or need to have independent class loaders for every cache. So the question is, I guess, how small is that number? And is it so small that we don't care about them? And how small does it need to be for us to not care about them? And if we were to say we don't care about that, and we force those people that needed to have separate class loaders per cache to have a large number of cache managers, so they can do that because we deny them the ability to have class loaders per caches. What problems does that cause them? Basically, it's a question of, if we were to do away with class loader per cache, how many people would we annoy? and how annoyed would they be? And then would that amount of annoyance summed across all the users be enough to prevent us from making that change? And also, I guess the corollary is how much easier does it make the API to use if you don't have? I mean, if the impact on the average user and on the implementation is not huge to have class loader cache, then I'm kind of the opinion, well, why not? If it doesn't cost as much and it doesn't hurt the average user, then why not cater to?
I was about to say,
weirdos?
I think if it's not in the face, right? If it's not rubbed in your face every time you need to use it, and if the number of people that care about this is 1 or above,
then
I think, right? Actually, let me put the argument the other way around. If n is 1 or above, and we can't do it in a way that it doesn't bother anyone, then I think we should do it. So, which basically means try to find a way to do it that it doesn't bother everyone.
I think there's two things that potentially demotivate it. One is how much more complicated does it make the API, and does that annoy users? The other is how much more complicated does it make our job as implementers? If it's
I don't think it's much.
Thing to implement. If only one person in the world wanted XA caches, we wouldn't write them because it's quite a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I know that obviously this is nowhere near that volume of work, but
what I think is, when you think about it, we're not saying that we want to allow multiple cache loaders per cache. We're just saying that we want to allow one specific loader per cache.
You mean class loader?
Oh. Sorry, my bad. Yes, that's what I meant. So scratch everything that started with cache and ended with loader and replace with class and loader, and the rest cache stays. Yeah. And given the fact that we say support one class loader per cache is needed, then it's just about the configuration of supporting multiple class loaders.
Right. Well, basically, every cache needs a reference to the class loader, right?
Yeah, and as soon as you give that,
and probably further down the line.
I guess so. Yeah. Yes.
And then as soon as you give that, just having an option to specify a different class loader per cache is just a configuration option. And so I think it's not added complexity. The only question is the one Alex raised, and that you also mentioned, Chris, is it something that's going to make standard, non-users that don't need that feature life harder? And I don't think it is, given what I've seen in Teams pull request. It's just overloaded methods with... You
either configure it or you don't configure it. If you don't configure it, you don't even notice that you didn't configure it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. So I got my question that remains, though. When I look at all this, why don't we... Oh, the class loading, probably I should search for that. Replace that. Why can't this class loader not be provided by a class loader provider of some kind that is a service that gets registered, and then you ask it for whatever, for every cache, which one it should provide? Why do we inject an instance of it explicitly every time?
Where is it? Hang on. So I don't know this changed it that well. Where's it being injected? What are you looking at? What are you
specifically actually referring to some code that I saw Tim write, like user code.
So I think that the builder, it's right that the builder takes the class loader. So there's the builder is with class loader, I think is a method for. Where's the...
I think it makes sense on a standalone cache. I think it makes sense on a standalone cache builder, right? That makes sense. Yep. The thing I'm arguing for is when you configure. I think it is on. Oh crap! Why don't I find it? I think it might well be on. Or maybe I was drunk.
What are you searching for, Alex?
He thinks that there's a point in at a higher level than just standalone cache, at the level of the cache manager, that he's passing in loaders and not. He's wondering if an extra indirection is deserved there.
Well, I didn't understand what you said, Chris. Sorry.
Neither did I.
Okay, cool.
Alex is claiming that, and he's trying to find the point where it happens now, where he saw Tim do. So there's this idea that.
Got it.
Okay, there you
Cache
go. Now
configuration builder. Ehcache configuration builder has now a method that says with class loader. But so how do I wait? Because I need to refresh my mind myself. Where am I here? Right. So I don't get this. I think it makes sense on the standalone cache builder. But on the cache, oh wait a sec, I'm confused. Cache configuration builder, maybe.
I'm not so sure. So the things that are on cache configuration builder, when it's in its, are you complaining about the build config?
If I've looked at the,
I'm not complaining. So the method I'm challenging is the cache configuration builder
with class loader.
With class loader. That's.
I think it's fine.
And why are you challenging that one?
Okay, so why is it not with cache loader, with cache writer, with blah 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 and everything?
It's you want it to be a service. That's what you said. Yeah, okay.
I want it to be injected in
the cache loader factory,
but configured to the other thing.
Yeah.
And keep this method on standalone cache.
Right.
Builder.
Why is it that way?
Oh, I think it's that way just because Tim was not aware.
I'm just saying now we have two approaches to solve exactly the same problem. I don't think they should be two.
I think the reason it's there is that to me, class loader is a specific is something. Every cache has a class loader.
Every cache has a store. It still goes through the cache store provider.
Right, but the other thing is that the other things, the service configuration stuff primarily exists at that level to allow us to build aggressive modularity into the way that we as implementers assemble a final Ehcache artifact.
Mm-hmm.
The class loader stuff is not going to be a separate module. It's going to go in core or whatever. It doesn't need to be decoupled in that sense.
So it's the cache loader.
Does that make sense?
But arguably the cache. Right. I was about to say
cache loader is kind of weird.
But arguably the implementation is not coming from us.
What advantage do you have of making it through a factory, doing it through a service loader, or through some kind of indirection factory thing?
Consistency.
Consistency of what?
Consistency?
Conceptually?
I can think of 10,000 ways of moving 10,000.
But why wouldn't you have key type and value type be provided through a...
Oh, that I can tell you because of the Java type system, but that's probably not the answer you expected from me right now.
No, it's also kind of a little bit of a... Well, I know...
Yeah, it's really what I meant because we want.
What about the capacity constraint stuff? What about the eviction, veto, and prioritizer predicate? We haven't done those through factories yet.
Right. So the line is drawn if it's something pluggable, then it's through a service. If it's not pluggable, then it's through regular setters and getters or setters.
Yeah, well, the line that's currently drawn at the moment is kind of in two places, maybe. It's on there's a line in the sense of the line is drawn in a place that actually happens to divide along two lines. One is it pluggable or not, and the other is along the line of is it in core or not. Does that make sense? I don't know.
If it's not in core, it's pluggable. That's the reason stuff doesn't, right?
Yeah, but there's two kinds of pluggable, isn't there? There's pluggable where you expect yeah, but again, there's pluggable where you expect the plug to be written by us, and there's pluggable where you expect the plug to be written by third party.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I would even argue.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
There is where it's provided by an implementer. There's one where it's provided by the user. But again, from conceptually, it's...
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, at the moment we're the only implementers, so I guess yes. I mean, so I guess what I'm saying is I don't mind the current situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind what you're proposing, but I think if we're proposing what you're proposing, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that there are arguments for making servicey factory thingy blahs.
No, I think maybe I get the point. I think it probably makes sense.
I think for the moment it's fine as it is. Maybe if we have more, to me, what's at the moment is there's this mountain and we're sort of sitting and rolling down one side, but it wouldn't take much for motion for us to sit on the other side and roll the other way. So I don't know, but
yeah, and it's probably kind of
once it's rolled down the hill, there's a lot of work to push it back up.
Yeah, it's probably
the what?
The kind of thing that we can revise once we do.
Yes. Yep. As long as we remember what things are.
Right. That's what I want to have settled. Like something that we at least know what kind of conduct line we're sort of imposing on ourselves and sort of try to stick to it up until we realize that it makes no sense. And it's fine, we change it, right? But
I don't think from a. So there is an interesting question here from a I haven't seen what does he do on the on XML config stuff.
I think nothing. I think.
How does
he did something.
Identify a class loader for a static piece of XML?
Right.
You pass a class loader, and it's going to be used for all the caches and the cache manager, or you pass a class loader and a map of alias to class loader.
All right. Yeah.
And then the first one you pass is going to be used.
Then it feels like a factory. It really feels like a factory because then you can do away with the map and lookup, doesn't it? The map is just a simplified factory.
Repository.
Yes, but when we do
repository, whatever you want to call it.
No, I understand. But when we do, what do we plan for the XML configuration regarding cache writer? Is to still be able to.
Right, but different because there you can specify a fully qualified class name, and we can do about doing things.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
There's a strong argument that for a cache writer, the identity doesn't matter; it's its function that matters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for a class loader, identity really matters.
And so I think it's fine like that.
I don't like the. You've got this generic problem with XML that you've got a cache of a known identity, where its identity is its configuration, or potentially in a cache manager context, its identity is its alias. And you want to get to a class loader. And what important at the moment is a static mapping. Well, not a static mapping, but a simple mapping. And up front, you must know an advanced mapping. Whereas it would be nice if we could provide something that said you can provide a lookup facility. Obviously, a map technically you could write a map that you could pass in a map that did fancy shit, but.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
But then maybe I'm making the argument that the thing that's passed in shouldn't be a map; it should be a factory it's actually a function. Well, if this were Java 8, it would be a function from string to class loader.
Well, probably string and configuration to class loader then, as we've said.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Right. Yeah, and then when you talk about that, that's exactly what the generic service for provided to a cache manager looks like right now.
Yes.
There is, I've seen this before. Though I still am agreeing with the initial point we made, right? It's more like
but what you're talking about here is there's two motivations. This is There's two motivations for having a service factory. One is modularity for the implementers, and one is modularity for the user.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two reasons the user might want modularity. One is they want to provide their own implementation. They want to return their own implementation. The other is they want control over the lookup procedure. And this is a case of the user wanting control over the lookup procedure. And at the moment, we're using the same sort of factory service loader modularity stuff for both purposes, but we don't have to continue to do that if we don't want to. I don't know if there's anything in that argument, in that statement, really, beyond a vague hand-wavy thing and a bunch of ranting. But
All right. So long story short, I think we should.
Long story short, we don't know, but what's there makes us feel a little uncomfortable. But we do think that if this is designed the right way, API-wise, that we think that the implementation impact of having a class loader per cache is minimal, and that if it's designed the right way, API-wise, that the impact on the
user that users that don't need a feature,
the user that doesn't want it. Yes.
Yeah.
Do we want to question Tim about it now, or should we just take the pull request and open a second issue for looking into that?
I think I would argue let's relook into that later. I think I'm going to create an issue with regards targeted at open source stuff. We need this class of stuff to do the 107 things.
Yep.
Right, and it probably was better to have this earlier on in there than later because it's gonna impact other stuff.
Yep.
So now it's there. Like, anyways, the thing we're talking about is not like a huge refactoring if we go to doing it. Because long story short, it's the way that a cache manager provides a given cache loader instance to a given cache. So that's what we're talking about.
Nice.
One method rewrite or something like that, and maybe introducing another service type. But my take would be so there are sort of those two things. I think this one really is on the line, and hopefully we will encounter other things as we go. And it'll start making sense. Also, another thing that Tim mentioned that is, I think, a good idea, and that has to do with that has to do with what? That has to do with something I've forgotten now.
We're not working hard enough. That was the first WTF since the start.
Right.
It implied WTF, obviously.
What was I going to say? Yeah. Write actual user code to this, right? Rewrite tests right now, but tests, for instance, go directly test Ehcache manager or Ehcache, all that. Probably at some point, and I was actually thinking of doing that when we're done with the 107 targeted tasks. I considered it part of 107. That actually might be a good sort of last task on the 107 list to just go and build a couple of examples, document them, and blah, 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 one way or another. Kind of a get started with the 3.0 API and see what kind of code we end up writing and how it feels like. See, I've lost a bunch of people's attention.
No. Yes, that makes sense, and that goes in along with what Tim was saying recently about should we start writing samples. There's no reason why those things could not be samples. And I think when we do the OSS beta, we're probably going to want to have some samples.
Oh yeah. When we release that, then we need like full of documentation and everything, so that's way more. But I think if we sort of on the wiki say we do like illustrate all the features in there, with code, explanation, and things like that for all the core stuff that we release along with the 107 stuff, so that you can see, all right, this is how it looks like in 107. This is how it looks like with the 3.0 API. Maybe potentially explain why certain things are different because we believe it enables different things, right? And doing that and then writing those example user code, I think, might be a good thing. And I find that this whole ASCII doc for that is like really nice, like writing the code, like saying 1, 2, 3, 4, and then being able to explain exactly what is going on and what order and so forth is probably good. So that sounds, I think, like a good plan.
Sounds like a plan.
I think I'm going to comment on.
Do we have any other business?
I don't really know. Could come full circle around on the lifecycle stuff. So yesterday, to a couple of people, I gave sort of a live demo from a user perspective of what it means and how you use it. I think this would be useful, and nobody cares. Why did you say yes?
I don't know.
I didn't say yes. I was just making agreeable.
I'm wondering if. So I said earlier in a conversation that maybe we would want to do that kind of exercise. User viewpoint on consuming Ehcache. But I'm wondering if we shouldn't wait for a point when we can at least do basic operations.
Yes. Well,
and like really run it then.
What do you mean? It all works. Hopefully. I'm not really sure what you mean now by this. I know that yesterday when I showed the thing, I made up an hypothetical use case for the two maintenance stuff, because right now we're only targeting on heap. Is that what you're referring to? Or?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, it's fine. I don't want to do it. I just said it's one thing.
I'd rather then we do it differently. Like we plan that to the agenda for a meeting, and we ask all involved developers and potentially community, if someone is interested in doing that kind of exercise on the side, and then.
Actually, I think you're right. We should do neither nor. I think we should do that after we wrote the example stuff.
Yeah.
And we can publicize that. We can try to gather feedback one way or another on certain things, and then do a retro on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good plan. There is no real big. Yeah. Anyways, cool. That sounds awesome.
Okay.
So does that mean that there is nothing further to discuss? We can have a quick look at the board. Oh, by the way, we're 60% done with regards to amount of tasks, so whatever that means. Right, so life cycle's done. Ludovic did the CRUD stuff, so that's cool. We're pushing things to Sonotype. That's pretty awesome. Which makes me think I would do this now. Can you give me the oh no. I guess I can infer this from question for you, Louis.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to github.com/ehcache/sizeoff, I scroll at the bottom. There is this repository, Sonotype Nexus snapshot, OSS, blah, blah, blah. This is where we publish our stuff, right?
Yes.
With the same.
I could add that to the.
Right. That's I was sort of volunteering to do it, but if you want to do it, sure, be my guest.
Both work.
I think it would be kind of nice.
Yes, you're right. It's yeah.
Though there is no uberjar, so somebody needs to depend on impl.
Yeah.
And that pulls everything in, I think, right?
Yes, it should. I'm gonna double check that, but it should, yeah.
For now. And then when hung stuff comes in with the GemX stuff, if you want that, you'll need to add this as a separate thing.
Yes. And
awesome.
we can always, for the future, create an empty dependency, which is going to be Ehcache all, Ehcache 3 all, or something like that, if we think it's useful.
All right, not go through the burden of shading or creating a new.
No.
Creating one that says I depend on all this.
Yes.
When you pull this in, you just get everything.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
I think we should only do that when we move to open source, to the open source beta.
Yeah, I think, I'm not saying
We could
should
do it
all-
early on, though, in the open source beta, because it becomes this sort of umbrella thing.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea. Okay, this leads then to another question I had for you, Maven Savvy people.
It's a Gradle project. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I'm talking about Central, I guess. It's
Okay.
exactly what I'm talking about. When we're done with the alpha, do we want to cut a real release of that? And if so, what would it be? Or it's maybe clear to everyone, but it's not to me. I know we could do Ehcache and then something like version 3.0.0.alpha 1.
Or dash alpha would be the Maven convention.
Dash
But,
alpha,
yeah.
right? So would we do
Alpha
that?
one, yeah.
A release like that, and we would push that to Central, I guess.
Yeah. I think so.
Can we delete that afterwards?
No. Why
Why
would you
would you
delete?
want to?
I don't know. At some point, it just becomes stupid that there's an alpha around. I think, but maybe it's only me.
Yeah, it's just that what it is. Well, what we could. Actually, we can't. What we could do is decide that we don't publish the alpha to Central, but only publish it to the Terracotta repository.
What's wrong with publishing it?
Then it's again.
No, I think we should push it to Central. You know, it's the main vector into it, or the main lead into it is 107, right? So as such, I think it would be nice that it becomes just as pluggable as switching the provider in your Maven dependency rather than having to add a repository on top of it and whatnot. So I'd do that. Okay, that sounds like a plan. And I think we're ready to go, right? Org, Ehcache, we're all set up for that, right?
Oh yeah, it's just about the only thing that needs to be done is building a version that doesn't have snapshot in its version, and use the same commands that we use. It's just gonna do the signing in addition, and for doing the signing, you need a bit more properties in the Gradle.properties file. That's all that's needed.
Cool.
Everything is in place already for doing that. If you look at the Gradle file, you'll see that there is a test that checks if it's a release version or not, and depending on that, it switches between the repo, the URL it uploads to. It switch on or off signing.
Cool.
That's the way it does it.
It's on the new macOS 10 on the App Store. All right, so anything else?
Not for me.
Did you talk about Teams addition with the class loaders?
If you would be on time, you would know.
All right.
Your name was even mentioned.
What we said in short, Anthony, is that
since you didn't turn up,
any added work for supporting one class loader per cache, and we believe it's not a wart on the API, because users that don't need a feature will probably never see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so given that, there is no reason for not doing it.
Okay.
Because if someone ends up needing it, at least it's there and available.
Okay.
However, what we've discussed is the fact that currently class loaders are directly given to cache configuration builders or to the XML configuration parser, and that's something we may want to revise to introduce some kind of abstraction, either the abstraction we already have for other features, such as loaders and writers, or maybe a different kind of abstraction, but we've decided to push that back and see what other features bring to the table to decide which directions we want to go.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
And so yeah, I checked Central. If you search for JBoss, you'll see plenty of versions that have a alpha in it.
Yeah, I know they do that.
So
I
we
I
wouldn't
don't
be
really
the
have
only
an
one.
opinion. I just
No,
wanted
it just seems to me alpha's such a common declaration or identifier that everyone's going to know. If they see alpha and beta, they know that they take the beta. If they see alpha and something that's not alpha, they know they take the thing that's not alpha. I don't see the harm in leaving it sitting around.
No. Okay.
so
Bye.
that
See
is
you next
it,
week, I guess.
I guess. All right, cool. Well, we'll see how that goes until next week then.